30. We're at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday, December 14th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners meeting. I want to welcome everyone that's in the audience today, those who are joining us online, and those who are joining us on TV today. It's a fairly short agenda. We do have one off-agenda item today that we're going to have at the end of new business, and we do have an invocation today. So I want to again welcome everyone. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order for Wednesday, December 14th, 2022. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Invocation to be led by Jonathan Anderson, Pathway Church, Valley Center.
Morning, let's pray. God, thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for what you continue to do for us each and every day. Thank you, God, for this time of year where we have a moment where we can, in the busyness of the season, maybe we can stop and remember, Lord, what this is about, the birth of your Son. God, just thank you so much for these leaders in this room. Thank you for how they continue to lead this county, and I'm just so grateful for each and every one of them. Be with their families, be with the agenda today, allow it to be short, allow the meeting to be great, and Lord, just again, most of all, thank you so much for what you continue to do for each of us and for your Son, Jesus. And it's in his name that we pray today. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Anderson, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. Madam Clerk, next item.
Roll call. Commissioner Meitzner. Present. Commissioner Cruz.
Present.
Commissioner Howell.
Present.
Commissioner Lopez.
Present.
Chairman Dennis.
Present. Next item, please.
County announcements.
Well, good morning, Nicole.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. I am Nicole Gibbs, Community Relations Specialist for the county. First off, I have Chief Information Officer Mike Elpers here to talk to you about the new FCC broadband service location and availability maps. That was tough today. Mike?
Morning, Mike.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Elpers, Sedgwick County IT. So today I'm here to talk to you about a map. A very important map, a map that's been a long time in the making, about 2 years, and it was just released last month. So this is the map here. You can see it's accessed through the web. The web address for it is broadbandmap.fcc.org. I plan to quickly walk through some of the navigation and functionality in this map, but before I do, let me first speak quickly about why this map is so important to us. So as part of the bipartisan infrastructure law, the Biden administration approved a one-time $45 billion funding to address broadband access throughout the country. They've tasked the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, or NTIA, with distributing roughly $42.5 billion in awards out of two state broadband offices. Now, the NTIA is planning to do so by awarding what they call BEAD grants, or Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Grants. This distribution is scheduled to begin in June of 2023, and this is the important part. It will be distributed based solely on the data used to create this new broadband map. The Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, is the creator and owner of this map. To build it, FCC required all internet service providers across the nation, including mobile and satellite providers, to submit information on the specific areas, meaning the specific addresses for the service they provide, and the type or levels of that service they provide. They built the map with this data and now have released this interactive map to allow the general public the ability to look up their property or properties and challenge any information they believe to be inaccurate. They can challenge by service location, both in terms of the address and functionality of their property, as well as the services that are available to them. The FCC plans to review all challenges submitted and update the map weekly with any changes they're able to verify. The goal is to make the map the most accurate they can by the time the NTIA starts their disbursement process. So let's take a look at the map. Let's see here. Okay, so again, the address is broadbandmap.fcc.gov. When you type in that address, this is the home page that you come to. This is the page that we think citizens will have the most functionality from. As you can see, there's some other functionality areas on the map, and I'll go through those briefly, but we'll start by just entering an address here. As you can see, as I start to type, a list of available addresses comes up, right, for anywhere in the country. We're going to go out west, out to North Goddard. Now I can go ahead and type in the rest of this address and hit enter, or I can simply click on this once it appears. Once you click on that, you get kind of a split screen that talks about, or with the pin drop on the left and the information about that location on the right. Again, both in terms of the location and the service that is provided. You see the address here, you see that it's listed as residential, you see that it's a single unit family count. What I like to do is switch to the satellite layer of the map and kind of zoom in so I can see what it is I'm really talking about. Okay, so there's my pin drop and the property that's there. If I'm the homeowner there, I'm thinking, yep, that is my home, that is the correct address, it's residential. I've got another pin drop or another location over here. I'll click on it. The address updates. This is a farm building, right, that stores tractors and such. So you can see it's listed as business, single unit. That all looks good. I've got another one over here. I'll click on it. That says it's residential. I'm familiar with this property out here, and this is just a chicken barn. So it is not residential. So that would be what I would challenge here. And the way I do that is I click on this location challenge, where another web-based form pops up that I can fill out. Pretty quick process here, just some contact information. There are challenge categories. So I would select that this is the incorrect location building type. Also unit count, I'll select it so you can see the sub menus on this form change dynamically based on what I select. I'll say that this is a business. Gives me a chance to add some narrative. Gives me a chance to upload some files. Maybe I take a picture of this chicken barn and upload it to here. I scroll down here and certify that I am the owner or otherwise authorized to change it. Basically that I'm telling the truth, and click submit. I am not the owner, so I'm not going to submit this now, but that's the process for challenging a location. I'll go back to the main residence here. And now we'll focus on the service that's available there. So at this location, you can see there are about 6 or 7 different providers here that can service this. Doesn't mean that they do, just means that the service is available there, right? But say, well, I wanted to also show you, by default, this is the kind of tricky part. By default, it goes to any technology with a speed of 25 down, 3 up, megabytes up, connection. So we want to change that because the goal is to get people up to a little higher bandwidth. I'm going to switch to wired and set it at 100 down, 20 up. You can see that the map updates a little bit. The chicken barn has now got a red dot on it, meaning that level of service is not available to it, but we're just going to focus on this house for now. So these are the providers that are available. If I'm really wanting that service, that 100 down, 20 up, I can see that there are a couple of providers that can supply that. Advantage has a wireless offering, and Ideatech has a fiber. So I'm interested in the fiber. As a consumer, I might want to contact both of those companies, find out which price is cheaper, right? Do a little shopping around kind of thing, get the best price. But I want the fiber to the premises, so I'm going to call Ideatech. I call them, and they say, yeah, that is serviceable, but our fiber is on the other side of the road. It's going to cost $5,000, $10,000 to get it over to the residence. So I can challenge that. As a consumer, I can challenge that. So I click on the availability challenge here. I select the provider. Scroll down. couple of selections here to go ahead and challenge and send this information to the FCC, and the FCC will follow up with Ideatech to verify that. I need to check this top button. If I select the bottom one, the information goes to the FCC, but they're not really guaranteeing to follow up on it. Again, submit my contact information, my challenge type, list of a few here. I'm going to say that they are requesting more than the standard installation fee. I can select the date, the method that I used to contact that provider. Again, a place to add a narrative, a place to upload a file. If I would have communicated with Ideatech via email and I had that in writing, I could upload that email here to support the findings. Again, the certification, check the box and submit. That's basically the challenge that we want our citizens to do, to type in the address of their properties, to look up the availability of broadband internet there, and to challenge anything that is not accurate. There are some other functionalities that I mentioned. On this map, we can go to provider detail here and add a provider. You see the business name as well as the doing business as name. They're both the same. I select the technology here, and I can see where that service provider has submitted that they have coverage for. I can add more than one. Select the same type of technology here, and get an overlay of both of those providers. And you can do this for multiple providers. You can zoom into the street level here, but you don't see any of the little dots for specific properties. To get that, you have to go back to location or home. The area summary is kind of interesting. I can click on it. There we go. Check out the coverage for our state. Again, defaults to any technology, 25/3. I'm going to change that to wired and 120. You can see that the map updates here, and I can scroll in. I can get to the property locations on this side. I can find a place that has properties. What doesn't change is this little bar chart down here at the bottom. So this is for the state of Kansas. It's saying that for the 100/20 speed, 90% of our state is covered. 90.54% of our state is covered, which is a pretty high percentage. If I select our county, it's even higher percentage. It says 98% of our county is covered. I've done a little playing around with this map and looked at other counties, and Sedgwick County is pretty well covered compared to the other ones, as far as this data in the FCC that the FCC has goes. So that's why it's critical that our citizens do this, right? If they've got a property with no broadband access, and this map that says that they do, none of this federal money that's being dispersed will come to us to fix that. There's one other area here for a data download. This is really more for the service providers themselves. This is just the raw data that they submitted to the FCC that you can download. This is a sampling of it. I mean, it's very raw, but it can be used to verify or to do larger group studies. Okay, so let me jump back to the PowerPoint here and talk about timing, and then I'll take any questions that you have. So the timeline for these challenges is approaching pretty quickly. NTIA says the best opportunity for FCC to review challenges, verify data with those providers, and update the map before NTIA begins their disbursement on June 30th is to submit the challenges prior to January 13th. So we've got just about a month. Challenges can be submitted after that date, but to ensure any of those corrections make it to the map by the time the disbursement begins, they want them to be submitted by January 13th. So what citizens can do. As far as our message to our citizens, we want to make this map as accurate as possible, right? We want them to go to the map, type in the address of your property, then check the accuracy of the data, both in terms of the location and in terms of the service providers. Submit challenges for anything they believe to be inaccurate. Again, citizens can also benefit by maybe shopping around to see what opportunities they have and which ones are most affordable. But the main purpose, the main message that we want to send is to make this map as accurate as possible and to submit any challenges by January 13th. Again, the map's internet address is broadbandmap.fcc.gov. And thank you for your time. I'm here to try to answer any questions you have.
Well, Mike, I appreciate the update. I know NACO sent out some information recently that this is available, and if it has errors in it, that we need to submit those as soon as possible. I appreciate you following up with that. I know that the rural areas of our county are not served well with broadband. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons it's one of our issues on our legislative agenda this year, is to make sure that we can get broadband throughout Sedgwick County. And broadband is critical. We saw the issues involved during the pandemic when some of the schools had to shut down. Well, all the schools pretty well shut down, and students were having to try and work from home, and especially in our rural areas, they didn't have access to broadband, and that hindered their education. So I guess what we need to do is maybe work with communications a little bit and see how we can get this information out to our citizens as soon as possible so that they can go to this map and find out if their address is served and if it's accurate, because the money is there, and what you just showed us is that it shows about 100% of Sedgwick County is covered, and that's absolutely not true. So we really need the citizens to be involved in this in order to be able to make sure that FCC has the correct information. And I don't see any questions from any of the commissioners. Thanks, Mike, for coming down and letting us know about that. And we'll work with communications to make sure that our citizens, especially in the rural areas, know that this is available. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, sir. And as far as communications, we are working on a plan to distribute this information. We'll have it on our social media platforms as well as our website.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, of course. As a reminder, Sedgwick County offices will be closed on Monday, December 26th and Monday, January 2nd in observance of Christmas and New Year's. Emergency services are available by calling or texting 911. At this time, I would like to invite not only the chairman, but I'd also like to invite Mr. Jim Weber to the podium.
Well, thank you, Nicole. I appreciate you introducing myself and Jim Weber this morning. State statute requires us to have a county engineer. Normally, I always call him the Director of Public Works, but our official title is he is our county engineer. He's actually worked for Sedgwick County for 40 years, and he's retiring. We're going to have a ceremony for him, actually a little get-together Friday afternoon, to thank him very much for his public service. Now, his predecessor had a saying that I stole from him and use all the time, and it says that transportation is the mother's milk of economic development. So I've been after Jim to come up with a saying that I could steal to use, and in the entire time that he's been our county engineer, he has not come up with anything other than, hey, we dig dirt, things like we shovel snow, kill weeds, we'll take your used oil. None of those have a real ring to it whatsoever. So I really didn't get to steal anything from him, but he has been just a rock for Sedgwick County for 40 years. And so one of the things that I did, I went online and took a look at a couple things, and I did find a quote that I kind of liked. And it really fits Jim Weber in what he's done for Sedgwick County. And it's from St. Francis of Assisi. Start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you're doing the impossible. And that's exactly what Jim Weber and Public Works does for Sedgwick County each and every day. They do the impossible. They take care of our citizens very quietly. And I want to thank him very much. We have several things for him today. One, he's one of the very few people that we've ever given this pin to, and it's a 40-year pin for service to Sedgwick County. So first of all, I want to start off with a 40-year pin.
Right, thank you.
Second. Second thing is, one of the things that we do for each and every one of our departing members of Sedgwick County is we always fill out a certificate of recognition for service and thank them very much for their service. And this is an appreciation for 40 years of invaluable service. And this certificate is awarded to Jim Weber upon his retirement on the 16th day of December 2022. And each one of us signed this, and several of us added a little note, which we usually don't add notes to this, but several of us did add a note.
Doesn't look like anything bad on there, so that's pretty good.
And finally, we always give a gift to our retiring employees to thank them very much for their service. And this is symbolic of this Sedgwick County. It's on our logo for Sedgwick County, and it's the keeper. And we do thank him again for everything that he's done. And I want to present the keeper, the symbol of Sedgwick County. I'm going back up to the bench, but I'm going to let you say a few words if you would like, and then I'm going to ask the commissioners if they have anything to say. And again, we're going to actually bring you up in front of the bench so that we can get a picture with you and all five after you say something, and all the commissioners have had an opportunity to talk. Again, Jim, thank you very much. We're going to miss you, but I understand you're going to keep working public works type things after you retire.
Be around.
And one of the things I told him when I heard that he had kind of a part-time job is that we still have a job for him. He could stay, but he decided not to.
Like I told you, your hours would not match up with the ones I need, so.
Very good. Well, I'll turn it over to you. I'll go back up to the bench.
Well, thank you. I think you all know it's a mistake to give me the microphone. A couple of the commissioners found out recently I went out to their CAB meetings to do a little presentation on public works. I think they expected about a half hour, and I might have been 45 minutes to an hour. I will not do that today. My goal is to get out of here quickly and in one piece. I don't have any famous mottos. My goal has been to fly under the radar, and I think we've done all right at that. I think Commissioner Dennis really kind of captured it pretty well. We just try to do what needs to be done. We have an excellent team. I follow David Spears, who he's mentioned. I actually started work 3 months before David did. I was here longer, but he was much older, and so he's retired earlier. But he built a system of road maintenance for us. He put the pieces together, and they made it very easy to follow. And that's a sustainable system for maintenance, and I expect what I've done is tried not to screw that up. I feel pretty comfortable with what we're doing right now and what we're doing going forward. I just can't, I had lunch, talking about the team, I had lunch last week, a couple of guys that have actually been here longer than I have. They're at 48 years and they're still plugging away for us. I want to mention them. Steve Lacey will not be happy that I mentioned his name. Randy Downs will be okay, but they're in our inspection department, and these are people that we still rely on. They've got a lot of history and experience, and we send Steve into the toughest jobs we've got because he can do it, and Randy's takes care of that whole crew. We're actually going to move him up. I had the pleasure of signing off on the PAF yesterday to promote him to a little higher position for a while. But I've got a great team. I'm not going to start mentioning names because I'll miss somebody, but you know who they are because you've worked for them. I just appreciate, we don't always agree on what we're doing, but I appreciate the dialogue and the fact that commissioners have always been willing to listen and before we go off and do something. And that's what your engineer is supposed to do. Bring you all the facts, good, bad, or indifferent, and then try to work something going forward. So I'll stop talking. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim. And Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't need to say much here, but I just want to say thank you. You're truly a professional. You have huge shoes to fill. We've depended on you. One of the biggest parts of Sedgwick County, one of the four, I always use the words, we have four main parts of Sedgwick County. One of those is infrastructure, and that falls solidly on your shoulders, and you've done a tremendous job. Very good professional, very responsive, and extremely smart. And you have a great team, and I just want to say thank you for a job well done. Appreciate you, sir. Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners have anything this morning? Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. When I first started, the biggest issue that came to me was groundwater issues, big surprise in my district. And so really Public Works was the first group that I dug in with, and I just really appreciated all your leadership, and you have a wonderful team, but I've always really appreciated you specifically because I know if I asked you a question, I would get the real answer and not necessarily something that maybe I would want to hear, but the actual full truth. And I've just always really appreciated that you do that for all of us. So we're definitely going to miss you here. It's been a great couple of years that I've gotten to know you, but I'm really happy that you get to spend some more time with your family and your grandkids, and I hope you enjoy what you do next.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Meitzner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim, congratulations. Just want to share that when I was at the city, there was a lot of inter communication in the Public Works Department, the Roads Department, and I had a lot of respect for you and the department when I was at the city, and then obviously getting to know you more when I came over here to the county. And your approach to cooperation with other communities and the region, and your relationship even at the state level with KDOT and WAMPO. I mean, it's just it's a credit. Sedgwick County is better off because of your approach to the regionalization and the cooperation, and we are all better off because of that. And for that, my sincere thanks to you. And a small world is just this last year, Jim and I were sitting down on something, and I don't even know how we got talking about our personal history or something, and he said, he said he went to All Saints grade school, and I said, oh, well, my wife went there and ended up and he goes, what's her name? And so I said, Susie whatever, and he goes, oh Susie Olam. He goes, Suzanne? And I'm going, yeah, that's her. So he was in the same class, and I said, so I called Susie, and I said, do you know a guy remember a guy at All Saints named Jim Weber? She goes, no, not really. I said, oh, maybe he was. She goes, oh my gosh, James Weber? And I go, yeah, that's it. She goes, I know they made us use our first name, formal first name back at so she was Suzanne, and you were James. And so in that same class, Nikki Howe says to tell you hi, and Father Matt McGinnis says to tell you hi. So that was quite a class of scoundrels and
I was well behaved. I can't say anything about the rest of them. But.
See, one's a priest, one's okay. So anyway, small world, and that I didn't even know that in the 8 years that we've worked together, whatever before. So it was a good story for me, and if they're watching, I think they are. So they all wish you the best of luck, and so thank you. Thanks for letting me share that story.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you. I don't want to belabor any points, so I'll ditto what my fellow commissioners said. But I will say that you do make cold mix road creation interesting. So we haven't talked about that in a while. I'm going to miss those conversations. But I wish you well. Thank you for your service to Sedgwick County, and happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jim. Well, I appreciate everything that you've done for the past 40 years, Sedgwick County. What I'd like to do is invite you down in front of the bench, and I have all the commissioners stand up, and we'll get a picture with you with the commissioners. Thank you. Yeah, we better go down. Otherwise, we're going to have all these bottles here.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not good with pictures.
Strike a pose, Jim.
I'm not good at it. We'll prove it right here.
Okay, you guys squeeze in, act like you like each other. Good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Public agenda.
Thank you. Last night, I received an email that we did not have anything from the public online or by email, but we do have 2 individuals signed up to speak in person. So the first individual is Rosemary Wood. Please approach the podium, state your name for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. I've had the pleasure to meet a few of you. So my name is Rosemary Wood, and I am the Development and Grants Director for Nonprofit Go. And the reason why I chose to speak today is because I believe that we may start building a relationship that has on the new business D 22506, Section 10, Board of Bids and Contracts. I believe we're going to be working, and I'm here to let you know who we are so that you know what we do, and it's not like a surprise. Who's these people and what they're doing? So in Sedgwick County, there's approximately 2,800 nonprofits. And what we do is we work to build small business sustainability through the nonprofit sector. Our updated impact has been $1.5 million, a direct economic impact from local, state, and national grant funding sources. That is up double from what we did last year, and that's only reporting November. So we still have the month of December. We raised in 2001, $650,000. Now, what we want to tell you is we do not add the relief funding, which in the last 2021 and 22 is over $6 million. That is a direct impact to Sedgwick County. Not only that, Nonprofit Go itself has hired 5 people. Currently, we're serving 125 clients, 95% in Wichita, Sedgwick County. We're launching Magnified Nonprofit Certification Program in January in partnership with Wichita Community Foundation. This is filling the gap between services needed and what local businesses and social service agencies provide. Providing consultation, grant writing, accounting, nonprofit startup, fiscal sponsorship, a workflow management, and graphic design services are some of the things we provide. We do not ask a percentage for grants that are funded, and the difference between us and other organizations is that we do not just provide referral services, is that Nonprofit Go has a staff who do the work necessary side by side to ensure our nonprofit partners are successful and maintain sustainability. Our mission is to mentor and educate nonprofit organizations to help them achieve sustainability, build capacity, and enhance their quality of community service. So that is it. So I just wanted to let you know what we're doing. We're a little behind the scenes, and we're hoping to continue to do the work. Thank
Ms.
you.
Wood, thank you very much for being here today. We appreciate you giving us an overview of what Go does.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't see any questions.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Gerald Dominic. You have state your name for the record. You have 5 minutes.
Gerald Domitrovic. I'm here sort of on a downer topic, racial disparities, or to put it another way, things that have ticked me off about race and politics in this country in the last couple of years. I could spend 5 hours talking about that, but that would be cruel and unusual punishment for anybody. So actually, it is sort of a downer speech in this matter, but I sort of feel like the Grinch. You're all happy talking about Christmas coming up, and I come here and want to talk about the race as I see it. So I apologize for the downer part of this provision, but this affects the county too. What I want to talk about first is that I've observed 2 campaigns in this country racially in the past couple years particularly, but for decades really. One, we have a recent, what I call a war against white people in this country, where there's disparate application of laws. We've had laws against discrimination on the basis of race, which have generally been ignored for the last 50 years because our elite rulers said, oh, well, we really can't expect blacks to do equally well. We have to give them preferences and so forth. So we'll discriminate against whites. And now recently, although we've had 50 years of pretending that we care about the laws, we've ignored the laws. I talked to Mr. Bennett about it, talked to Derek Schmidt about it. They all know it's true. But when the government officials are faced with a choice between enforcing the law against racial discrimination and offending blacks and other non-whites, they pick not offending blacks and other non-whites. That's wrong. If you're gonna do that, take the law out. Quit pretending about stuff. Other things we've seen: violence. Violence against white people is not a particular crime. I remember Charlottesville, where white people had a permit and they were attacked, and we always hear about violence being condemned and the First Amendment rights. And in this case, the people who were attacked were the ones condemned, even by the brave Republicans. I can talk about brave Republicans for a minute or two, but I won't in this case. And we hear corporations attacking people and giving their employees and in schools the students classes in, you're too white, or you're privileged, or you've got to do this. And we have people in this city that have that point of view, particularly at the city. The city just passed a non-discrimination law, although they had a provision in what I call District Black, District 1, where white people were excluded from government programs for loans. But that wasn't discrimination, of course, because when is racism not racism? When it's against white people. I mean, there's a new definition of racism. It's apparently what non-whites and their pet Caucasians don't like, so that isn't discrimination. So when white people are attacked, they're fired for not being with the racial narrative. That's fine. Also, the worst thing, or one of the worst things that we have is lynchings. Remember, racial lynchings are bad, very bad. And I think Congress just passed a law making it a federal offense. But we have racial lynchings in this country. We've had a couple in the past couple years. One, Kyle Rittenhouse. Now, what I'm calling a racial lynching is where the system persecutes people and their interest is not finding justice, which is hard to do anyways, but in placating usually blacks, but sometimes other groups in this matter. We had the interesting racial lynching of Rittenhouse where there were no blacks involved in it, but he was a symbolic white person, and the two leftists that he shot, I guess, were symbolic black people. The Derek Chauvin trial in Minneapolis was a lynching because they didn't care what the truth was about George Floyd and how he died or might have died. Even this body has talked about the police killing of George Floyd. And these people were tried and sent to jail, and the cities testified against them because the government's interest was not justice or truth. It was, let's get these people convicted so we don't have more riots. You know who the government's afraid of that's going to riot if they don't have a decision that they like. The worst case is down in Georgia with those three poor white saps with Mr. Aubrey, the jogger guy. They got life sentences. Serial killers hard to get life sentences, but they did because Al Sharpton showed up, Jesse Jackson showed up, and they demanded that there be a conviction. And there was, and there were no riots. So it worked. What the government does in these cases is not stupid in a certain sense. It makes sense. We'd rather send 2 or 3 people and convict them unjustly than have whole blocks of cities burned down. The other thing that we have is what I call, we've gone from a,
Gavel this guy when he's done.
You've heard about systemic racism, and we've had systemic racism in this country for 50 years. We've had black entitlement, black preference. We've had real black supremacy. People talk about white supremacy, which is mainly a myth.
Mr. Domitrick, your 5 minutes are up.
Really? Holy cow. I speak faster than I think. All right. Well, things are bad, and the Juneteenth holiday is horrible, and it'll never end. You'll never end. You'll never placate people. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the speaking.
Yeah, shame on you for perpetuating white supremacy. You need to take a good hard look at your own internal bias. I suggest reading White Fragility. Thanks.
Ms. Cruz, I bask in your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any other comments today. Move to receive and file public agenda comments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Next item, please.
New business, item A, appoint an interim public works director.
Very good. And Manager Stoltz, and I understand that this is probably doesn't say the right thing, Public Works Director. It should say
County Engineer.
County Engineer. So
morning,
that's
Chair.
what we're going to be talking about today.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman of the Commission, Tom Stoltz, County Manager's Office. Now that we have formally sent Mr. Weber off, it's time to take care of business because work must go on. So I'm here today to ask for 2 actions from the Commission. I think you can maybe do it in one vote. But the first action is to name an interim county engineer. And the second thing I asked the Commission for guidance on is how you want to proceed ahead with filling the position full-time. Staff has a recommendation for you regarding interim. It is Mr. Lynn Packer, who you are all familiar with. Lynn is a 22-year veteran with the county. He is currently the Deputy Director of Public Works. He has a BS in civil engineering from, and it's not K-State, I couldn't believe it was San Diego State. And he also has an MBA from the University of Phoenix. He is highly qualified, and we think he would make a good interim director. So that's our first recommendation. And then as far as the second recommendation, or the second action item, you have 2 choices. You can open this, it is a commission hire, so you can open it internally, or you can open it internally and externally, we'll run it a certain number of days depending on what that decision is. So we've done it both ways in the past, just whatever the majority of the commission wants to do to move forward. So I'd ask that you discuss and maybe take action on those 2 items.
Well, thank you. Well, we always look for succession, and the succession makes sense that we appoint Lynn Packer as our next county engineer. So I move that we appoint Lynn Packer as the interim county engineer. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. And for the second part, I think it's probably prudent that we take a look both internally and externally for a county engineer. And that would be my motion unless someone has some objection.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item B, consideration of a one-time funding agreement with University of Kansas Medical School of Medicine-Wichita for child and adolescent psychiatry fellowship training.
Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Tim Kaufman, Deputy County Manager. I'm very eager to present this particular item. The item before you this morning is a request to financially participate in the implementation of a fellowship for child and adolescent psychiatry at the KU School of Medicine, Wichita. This summer, we received a presentation during a BOCC meeting outlining the need locally and statewide for more child and adolescent psychiatrists, or CAPS, and a proposed fellowship program as a strategy to address this issue. The American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry provides data regarding the number of practicing CAPS per 100,000 children by state. Based on their current data, Kansas is tied for 33rd with 10 per 100,000 youth. The majority practice in northeast Kansas, and the rate here in Sedgwick County is approximately 5.3 child and adolescent psychiatrists per 100,000 youth. The recommended level is 47. Now, that's not very realistic, but we need to make progress on this particular issue. But Sedgwick County is in a category of severe shortage according to the AACAP, and statewide there are over 90 counties without a single child and adolescent psychiatrist. COMCARE is fortunate enough to have one board-certified child and adolescent psychiatrist and another of their psychiatrists eligible to test after another approximately a year of practice. But the average age of a child and adolescent psychiatrist in Kansas is 54. Replenishing and increasing this important specialty is a critical need. Given this significant workforce issue, KU is working through the implementation of a 2-year fellowship program that would provide a higher level of training for up to 4 psychiatrists each year. While in training, these fellows would be able to treat up to approximately 500 patients per year, and one of the proposed training sites would be COMCARE'S children's program. Upon completion of the program, most fellows would remain in the area or in the state and would be able to treat up to from hundreds to thousands of children each year, both in inpatient and outpatient settings. And as you know, ComCare has a long history of staffing their medical clinic with KU Med graduates. They do good work, and we'd like to have more of them working for us. KU has hired a psychiatrist faculty member to serve as program director. She's begun to recruiting faculty members, designing the curriculum, and developing relationships necessary to make this program successful. Over a 10-year period, the implementation cost would be approximately $3.8 million. At that point in time, the program should be fully accredited and eligible for federal funding support. The ask of Sedgwick County is to participate through funding approximately 1 year's cost, or $380,000. I'm going to invite Brent Shelton from Finance up to discuss the analysis that they've performed, but I'd also like to thank Dr. Rachel Brown, the chair of the Psychiatry and Behavioral Health Department, and Brad Roops with the Development Department at the med school here, in case there are any questions for them as well. I'll turn it over to Brent.
Thank you. Morning, Brent.
Thank you, Chairman Dennis. Members of the Commission, for the record, I'm Brent Shelton, your Deputy CFO. I think in your packet you received some analysis that we did on this request, and to fund the $380,000 for the first year, the implementation year of the program, Finance would recommend a transfer from the operating reserve to the community development community programs, which would then fund this program upon invoice sometime during the year 2023. Now, approximately 98% of the $380,000 that we would provide is directly in terms of personnel costs for people that will be directing the program, coordinating the program, faculty support to train these fellows. Years 2 through 10 of the 10-year program, we've been informed that they're going to be funding these through private and some public entities across the region, some funding partners, and we understand that they've committed about $2 million or secured about $2 million in commitments to date. So in addition to solving the workforce issue or working towards solving that workforce issue, there are some economic development or some economic impacts that are positive when we have physicians in the area. And the American Medical Association commissioned some studies back in 2015 and 2018. And the economic impact of one physician in the state of Kansas is about $1.9 million. One physician supports about 17 jobs, provides about $125,000 a year in state and local tax revenues. So in addition to providing more care locally and solidifying that support and that service delivery, we would see some economic benefits from this. About 64% of psychiatry residents practice in the area in which they were trained. So we would look, if this trend continues, that this would add psychiatrists to the region and support this economic and this service delivery. So with that, I would stand for questions. I would recommend approval of the funding agreement and authorize the chairman to sign.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Brent. And I don't see any questions for you at this time.
Okay.
Okay, you want to speak today?
I think we're good.
Okay. Well, thank you. Commissioner Howell has a question, though. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I apologize for the interruption. Just want to make sure that you all know that we are having issues with KPTS broadcasting, but we are still live on our social media platform, so the public is viewing the meeting. Apologies for the interruption.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have, I think I had some concerns when we heard about this earlier in the year. It was about a year ago, maybe not quite that long ago. We had our first initial briefing on this idea. And I don't think I've had any conversations with anybody since then until today. So this is, fairly mature. I do have some questions. So this is you're welcome to come to the microphone if you like. This is under the KU School of Medicine. They're the ones that are putting this program together. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's been done under, so I'm Rachel Brown. I am the chair of the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at KU School of Medicine. I am a child and adolescent psychiatrist, and a physician. Just a little bit of background, I did my medical training in London and practiced there for approximately 15 years as a child and adolescent psychiatrist. In the States, I've practiced in 5 different states, and I moved here 3.5 years ago to become chair of the department. I am so excited at this proposal and this possibility. I have never worked anywhere where there was a sufficient supply of specialty medical care in my particular specialty, child adolescent psychiatrist, and this is such an opportunity for us to make a difference to the children in our community and their families. So I am so grateful to everybody who's been part of this initiative, all of the community partners, the private donors, everybody who has really stepped up and offered to be part of this work.
Has the state or regents committed any funds to this program?
No, not to my knowledge.
Have they been asked?
Yes.
With the shortage that's been described here, I'm really surprised they don't think this is a priority for the state of Kansas.
So I will say this, I have had enormous support from Dean Minns, the Dean of the School of Medicine locally, and from Dean Ojo and from KU in putting the fundraising efforts and Brad Rook's efforts with ours to bring money on board in order to make this a reality and a possibility.
Besides Sedgwick County, what other municipalities have been asked to?
So I'm going to let Brad speak to that because he's done most of that fundraising work.
Okay. So I'll reiterate my question. I would like to know how many other municipalities have been asked, and how many other commitments do you have from municipalities across our state?
Sedgwick County was the first municipality that we've communicated with. We haven't made requests of any others yet, to answer your question directly. We have been in conversations with the city of Wichita, and I think we're building out from there. Additionally, Dr. Brown has indicated that we've put a request for Sparks funding from the state and are still waiting to hear back from that. So I think there's a little bit of visiting locally first, trying to see what kind of response, if any, we receive perhaps from federal funds through the state, and then adjust from there as far as any additional conversations. In addition to that, we've just been reaching out to local private funders, and then also we've had some support from a foundation in Western Kansas from the Bachman Foundation, and a foundation in Kansas City from the Patterson Family Foundation. So it's been a process of in visiting with individuals. We're not against reaching out to other municipalities. We just started with Sedgwick County and are still kind of waiting to see how things come from the state.
What's the nearest location to Wichita or Sedgwick County that currently provides this type of training?
So there is one child and adolescent psychiatry fellowship program in the state of Kansas. That's out of Kansas University Medical Center in Kansas City. And they graduate 2 to 3 child adolescent psychiatrists a year, of whom 1 or 2 typically will stay in the state of Kansas. And that's partly why of the 68 child and adolescent psychiatrists currently practicing in the state of Kansas, 30 of them are in Johnson County. Because where we train, not me, but most other people, where they train is where they stay.
And when they graduate the program, this is private sector providers. This is not from Johnson County or?
Not at all. I mean, our child and adolescent, so if you look at the psychiatrists, so we have been training general psychiatrists, adult psychiatrists in our community for many years. We admit 6 a year and graduate anywhere an average of about 4 a year. Of the psychiatrists practicing currently in this part of the state, up to 90% of them are graduates of our residency program. They work in community mental health. they work for Ascension Via Christi hospitals, they work in private practice, they work at Mental Health Association of Sedgwick County, they work of South Central Kansas. So they work all over our community in public and private sectors.
So
if it were not for our training programs.
So we envision this program as being a local program, is that correct?
That is my intention, yes, is that we would recruit people, if we possibly can, who have an intent to stay here and practice in our community. And we expect that that many of them will do that.
But there's nothing in the contract with these students that would say that they have to provide services to this community. They can move to another state or whatever. They would be free to leave if they wanted to.
Yes, that is correct. Let me just make a correction. These are physicians. These are not students. So the requirement of medical training is that you go to medical school for 4 years in the United States, and then you must complete specialty training in a medical specialty thereafter. So the people who will be entering this program are MDs, DOs, that they will have done 4 years of medical school. They will have done 3 years of post-medical school training in adult and general psychiatry. And then they will do an additional 2 years of specialty training in child and adolescent psychiatry. So they are the most highly trained, most broadly and in-depth training of any healthcare professional working with children with mental health problems.
I am curious, there's been a lot of discussion about the biomedical, I use the word campus, but a biomedical facility that we're going to advocate for at the state level that should be placed in the Wichita Sedgwick County area. Is there any idea whether this would be part of that program?
Oh, for sure. Our current, yes. And my understanding is that that's the idea, the vision, is that KU School of Medicine and our clinical and educational departments, including psychiatry, would move to a new biomedical campus. Then this fellowship program would be there as well.
This is just because I don't really know the answer to this question. This is a genuine question, but is someone who is a psychiatrist that is licensed to do psychiatry services, are they prohibited or are they unable to provide services to younger people?
No, every general psychiatrist is required to have training with elderly adults, with addiction medicine, in emergency psychiatric settings, with children and adolescents. A lot of our adult general psychiatrists are providing services to adolescents in particular at the present time. Part of that is because they have some training and some expertise in doing that, and also because there aren't any child psychiatrists, or there are very few child and adolescent psychiatrists, and so access to high-quality specialty care, the highest quality specialty care, is simply not available in our community.
How many faculty or staff are going to be, it was mentioned a minute ago that most of this funding is going to go to salary. How many folks are being employed by the salary that Sedgwick County is providing for this first year?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are required to have 3 board-certified child and adolescents on faculty in order to meet accreditation requirements. And we have those. You already met Dr. Carlson, who's originally from Harper, Kansas, who spent much of her training in other places, and has been a program director for a similar fellowship at the University of Indiana School of Medicine for some years before she came back here. So we've been very fortunate to recruit her. She is required to have dedicated time to lead the program. There have to be 2 other child adolescent psychiatrists. I'm one of them. And the other one will be Susanna Chickalaya-Micaldi, who did her general psychiatry residency here in this community, her child psychiatry fellowship in Kansas City, and then returned to faculty about 2.5 years ago.
You've answered all my questions for you, but I do have some questions for Lindsay, and then I have maybe a comment or so after that. So I have a question for Lindsay, if she's in the room.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Doctor. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, Chairman. Morning, Commissioners.
Lindsay, thank you for coming down. And so let's talk about our financial status right now.
Okay.
I know we're fiscally healthy. We have good ending balances and things like that. We're doing pretty well, but things are not as good as they used to be. Are we spending through our ending balances a little bit, and maybe at an alarming rate? Can you please describe our 2023 and 2024 budgets in terms of our deficits that we're expecting?
Sure. So the adopted budget book will be coming out soon, and it will include the forecast that I'm sharing with you now. So within the county's general fund for 2023, the budget that was adopted projects an overall surplus in the general fund of $2.2 million, but that is because we have those one-time revenues coming in from COMCARE and noxious weeds and EMS, those funds that went into the general fund. We had to wait for all of those payments to be done, so we knew how much cash was available. That will all now be coming into the general fund. It will still be restricted to be used on those purposes, but that is what causes there to be that surplus. So if we were to take that out of consideration, we would have a $4 million deficit. If we look into 2024, which is the budget we'll begin working on in February, right now a deficit of around $9 million is projected in the general fund, of which about $5 million is one-time type costs, capital improvements, technology review board expenses, things like that. But we do right now anticipate about a $4 million structural imbalance in the county's general fund, things where there's not any one-time things that can explain that. So that will be, at the minimum, what we're looking at addressing through the 2024 process.
The COMCARE funds, you said, are going into the general fund, but they're reserved
The
for...
COMCARE tax fund only, which is a small portion.
And that money is siloed. It has to be used for COMCARE uses. Okay.
Yes.
Do you know how much, and I hate to put you on the spot here, if you don't know the answer, that's okay. Was curious, but how much of the total transfer of that $6.2 million came from the COMCARE tax fund? Roughly.
A relatively minimal amount overall. Mostly it's EMS, but I can get that figure for you.
That's okay.
And send it to you later today.
All right. Well, that's all my questions for you, I think. I just want to make a comment, and that is, I'm disappointed a little bit that, we received a very initial vision for this program, most of a year ago, and I had some concerns and questions at the time. There's been no discussion until today that this is coming before us. I am concerned that we're the only municipality in the state of Kansas. The Regents hasn't committed any money. The legislature hasn't committed any money. We don't have a biomedical facility yet. We hope to get one, but that's, if you heard the discussion a couple days ago when they presented this, the previous city we're modeling after, it took them 15 years to get their facility. So I don't know when that will happen, but we hope to have it, and I hope it's a lot less than 15 years, but it's not real yet. We're talking about 4 people going into the program in 2024. I should have probably clarified that, but they go into the program in 2024. And so is it 2 years or 4 years for them to go through the program?
It's 2 years.
2 years, okay. So it takes 2 years for them to go through the program. So in 2024, we have 4 that enter, I think 4 that enter the following year, and then 4 that enter the following year. So at the end of 26, 25, 26, at the end of 2026, we'll see our first 4 graduates come out of this program. And this is not accredited necessarily yet. We're still trying to raise the $3.8 million for us to continue this program, and who knows where that money is going to come from. About half the money has been committed, you said, but some of the money has not been determined where it's going to come from yet, and the accreditation is still something that has to be worked out. I have some concerns about this. I don't think that Sedgwick County is a place for community, for other organizations across the state to come to get funding. We have core missions of responsibility here in Sedgwick County, and this is great. It's a great program. We've got half dozen initiatives that deal with mental health, and they're all important. I think some of the most important things to Sedgwick County, I'll say it again, I think is CIT training for officers as they deal with people in the streets that have mental health issues. That to me is one of the biggest bang for the buck. If we wanted to really deal with mental health problems in Sedgwick County, I would start with that. Another thing I think is extremely important is mobile mental health. It's not funded to the degree I think it should be funded yet. We need to expand that program, and there's a great opportunity. I am laser focused on the issue of juvenile justice issues, and a lot of this is legislative problems, but we need to focus on that. This dealing with foster care issues, and I think that you look at the juveniles across our state that are dealing with psychiatry problems or issues. Maybe it's folks that have problems with dysfunction in their home and dysfunction in the community, or not managing those issues to a degree that we should. Is this the best use for $380,000 in Sedgwick County when we're looking at $9 million deficits in 2024? and $4 million deficit in 2023? I don't think so. And if we had asked, a dozen or a couple of dozen municipalities to participate, and we had commitments from a number of them, and Wichita was part of this, I would be a little bit different. But I feel like we're the only ones being asked. And it sounds like if we don't support this, we don't support mental health solutions, and that's not true at all. I think the state of Kansas especially needs to step up. And again, I think KU, recognizing the deficit, they can't just put all their eggs in one basket, call Kansas City area, and expect that to solve the problem for the entire state. I don't know that this is a Sedgwick County issue that we should be solving with taxpayer money. By the way, this is property tax dollars. This is right out of the community. We tax our folks. We have deficits we have to solve. We have no idea how we're going to solve them right now, and this is property tax dollars. I use the word precious, property tax dollars. And I love the idea that we have someone who's trying to figure out a way to solve some of these problems. I don't know that this is the best choice for Sedgwick County. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm probably going to vote no this morning. Thank you.
Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you, Chairman. I've said this quote many times, but I'm going to say it again. Frederick Douglass said in 1855, "It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." And when we look at what this program is trying to fulfill, it is going to be filling a gap. If we don't start today, this pushes it off even longer. As Sedgwick County, who has been touting for multiple years since I've been on this commission, mental health is important. Well, it's time to step up and be leaders. And if we need to step up and be leaders in this to get this off the ground, I believe that we should be. It's important when you talk about, my colleague to my left talks about focusing on juvenile justice, and when we talk about children, those who enter the system generally have undiagnosed and untreated trauma from their childhood, which perpetuates into adulthood, which now you see is a full Sedgwick County jail. How many of those people have untreated childhood trauma that if they had seen a psychiatrist, if they had been able to discuss those things, perhaps they wouldn't be doing the things in adulthood. So, I think it's important to recognize when people are speaking out of both sides of their mouth and start recognizing that it's time to step up as leaders in Sedgwick County and vote for this because it's important. And so with that, Chairman, I'd like to make a motion when appropriate.
Thank you. I don't have any other comments from the commissioners, but I'd like to make a few comments myself. First of all, it was, I guess, about 6 months ago that KU came and gave us a briefing at a staff meeting. And Brent today talked a little bit about the economic impact, and that's important because the economic impact, when we're spending taxpayers' dollars, we need to consider. But that's not the big consideration. The big consideration is the human impact in our community. Commissioner Cruz and I served on the Mental Health Substance Abuse Coalition, and one of the big issues that we've seen is workforce. We have to have the workforce in order to be able to provide the services. This project that's being undertaken by KU is exactly in the wheelhouse of Sedgwick County. If it wasn't, we wouldn't need ComCare, and we absolutely or critically need ComCare. The next item on the agenda is dealing with workforce, trying to get people to a master's level in order to be able to serve the community. This is a requirement to get somebody to the doctor's level that can serve our children. It's so critically important that we support programs like this. So again, I appreciate Brent's telling us the impact economically, but the human impact is where that we work day in and day out. We take care of people. It's not a Republican or Democrat issue. It's a people issue, and does it fit within the scope of what Sedgwick County does? This is exactly in the middle of the scope of what Sedgwick County does, taking care of people. We sincerely appreciate everything that KU Medical Center does here in the city of Wichita. And I look forward to them, the new biomedical campus. And this will eventually move into that biomedical campus at the point when it is developed. But I can see absolutely no reason whatsoever not to approve this request. So Commissioner Cruz has asked to make the motion. I will transfer it over to her.
Thank you, Chairman. So I will make a motion to, excuse me, as I filter through this. I will make a motion to approve the funding agreement.
Thank you. I'd be happy to second that agreement. Any further discussion? Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see how this is going to go. I think I'm going to be criticized for not supporting mental health. That's not true at all. Would you like to say that for the record? Please
Would
don't
you like
listen.
to say it?
No, I'm just saying I am supportive of mental health solutions.
Cool.
And we have a lot of different paths that we're working on at the same time. Again, this is something that the state of Kansas has not invested in from the regions or the legislature. I think we should be talking to our legislators, and we should be asking KU to do this without using Sedgwick County municipal money. Again, I think it's very strange to me that we're the only organization in the entire state of Kansas that has been asked to support this. I think there's this assumption that we have a lot of money to hand out, and that's just not true. If we talk about the other requests we're receiving, it just seems like it never stops. We have requests all the time. If you wanted to put $380,000 into mental health solutions in Sedgwick County, let me just reiterate once again, that's another ICT-1 team, that's CIT training, and I think we're talking about helping a whole lot of people in Sedgwick County. So again, the idea that I'm not supportive of mental health solutions is just not true. So please don't let that be the narrative, because that's not true at all. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
No.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Thank you very much for bringing this to us. Motion passes. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item C, COMCARE'S Master in Social Work Education Program.
Good
morning. My name is Chantel Westbrook. I'm Director for Clinical and Rehab Services for ComCare. I would like to talk this morning about our proposed ComCare education plan. We have been talking this morning and have talked for a long time about the shortage of master's level clinicians in our community and our difficulty in recruiting and retaining. We have been working on many different solutions, and what I'm going to talk about today is just kind of one of those. And that is, we are proposing a template for being able to work with universities to have some of our staff go through an application process with us to be considered for us to provide their tuition, fees, and books to be able to obtain their master's degree. So these would be staff that currently work for us that have their bachelor's degree, for example, and then they would be going back to school to get their master's degree, and then would be committing to us for a 3-year period after they have obtained licensure. So this is one thought around the way to deal with the shortage of master's level clinicians that serve children and adults and families. Right now we have 47 full-time positions and 22 part-time positions that we are continuing on a daily basis to recruit for, to hire for, to train for. And so the discussion today is around being able to add kind of one additional component to the overall recruiting and possibilities for having more master's level clinicians committed to ComCare to be able to serve community members. So the what is before you is really the application that a staff would provide and that would go through a process. And then also the template for the universities that we might utilize for this. And then the employee contract that would be involved. So any employee involved in this would enter into an agreement with us, again, to work for us full-time while they're obtaining their degree outside of work hours. This would not be compensable time. They would be doing the education outside of work hours, but we might alter their schedule and help them to be able to fit classes and things into that. And then once they've obtained their degree and then obtained their licensure, they would commit to 3 years beyond that, and hopefully a lot longer. But this is one kind of pathway to address workforce shortage at the master's level, and we're proposing roughly kind of 6 slots. It's a total of $225,000 for this education program.
Hey, Chantel, thank you very much for the information. I appreciate you going around speaking to each one of the commissioners about this so that we're fully aware of what's happening. The program kind of goes along with the same concept that we have for EMS. We were very short on paramedics, so we're adding an opportunity for them to transition from EMTs up to paramedics, and Sedgwick County will pay for that. It goes along with my whole career, where the military, if they wanted me to do a different job, why, they'd send me to school and teach me to do it. So that's what we need to be able to do for our employees. And it also allows them to move up in the organization. It connects them more to the organization. These individuals that go into this, we do have a clawback, as you mentioned, so they would have to repay the county if they are not able to fulfill the requirements of this new opportunity that we have provided for them. So it makes complete sense to me. In addition, as I mentioned in the previous one, workforce is our biggest issue that we're working right now. We have openings, and COMCARE is one of the largest openings that we have. And we can't find the people to fill the positions that we have because of the requirements of that position, and we're able to offer the training to fill those requirements. So I think it's a great idea. I fully support it, and we'll see what other commissioners have to say, and I'll be ready to make a motion. Thank you. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I asked a question. Well, let me just say, this came up, first I saw this week was at the Friday agenda review, and I asked for a briefing, which I received on Monday. And so I haven't had a lot of time with this. So once again, this has been most of a year of development, and I think the commissioners, I'm not sure if other commissioners had more input to this than I did, but this comes to us very mature, ready for a final approval, and I do have some questions. Have you asked your existing employees that have this degree, how many of them have student loans that they are carrying? They gave them the credentials to be employed in that role?
Our positions do require, most of our positions require degrees. So our integrated care specialists have bachelor's degrees, and then our master's level clinicians have, of course, master's degrees. And I don't know exactly what the student loan debt or how many have student loans. I did kind of talk a little bit through the week, and some of the replies that I got were that most of our staff, when they do become employed, they have some level of student debt because of, it is a requirement. It's such a specialty position that, especially at the master's level, there's only several different disciplines that are able to be licensed in the state of Kansas to provide this level of clinical work. I don't know the number of employees that have student loan debt that work for us at this time. I could certainly get that.
You made a statement just now, I'm not sure I heard that correctly. You said there's only so many positions What did you say exactly just now?
So in Kansas, so for the master's level clinician to be licensed by the Behavioral Regulatory Sciences Board, there's just several disciplines, social work being one of them, marriage and family, counseling, and psychology.
But the state does not limit how many folks can be in one of these programs. The state does not limit that?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I was afraid of misunderstanding.
No, I apologize if I wasn't real clear, but yes.
And so one of my concerns is, again, there's two parts of this. We talk about recruitment, and I think we should be talking about retention. I think they're both equally important. And if we have staff that are already with Sedgwick County that have the master's level therapy degree, and they are carrying student debt that gave them the credentials to be employed with Sedgwick County in that role. I'm a little bit concerned about our focus on recruitment, and I'm a little bit concerned about the retention component. I think another employee that's there that's carrying that debt will see this as very unfair to them. I don't know how we can mitigate that other than include them in some type of agreement that says if they give us some time guaranteed, they would be able to work off some of their student debt by being employed with Sedgwick County. Have we considered that?
I think there's been a number of different things considered and thought about for the future. This was thought to be kind of a beginning of one component, one way to get things kind of pointed in the direction of building our own, growing our own, being able to help kind of meet that large community need.
Okay. The amount of money, again, this is subject to appropriation in the budget of $225,210 per, is that per year? Per year. That's not per student, that's per year. Okay. And so in 2023, we would have to appropriate $225,210 to have 6 students in 2023?
I think that would depend if we started another 6, how often we would start 6. Yes.
Commissioner, this would be part of the revenue budget that you approve for ComCare. This would be envisioned as a departmental expenditure that would occur every year, in theory, until we get this workforce issue solved. But it's part of the ComCare revenue fund, and so these employees, as they're working and going to school, they're delivering services and generating revenue, and this is a way to reinvest that earning. As you know, the department has been certified as a CCBHC, and there's a new reimbursement plan, an enhanced reimbursement plan. So they're generating revenue, and one of the ways they're going to expend that revenue is reinvesting in their workforce by offering this.
So the ComCare Revenue Fund can be used for a lot of things within the ComCare umbrella, but this is one use we're contemplating today. Is it wrong to use the word appropriate? I mean, if we're approving the ComCare budget, is that still an appropriate word to use the word appropriate, since we have to look at and approve the ComCare budget that has the ComCare Revenue Fund being used this way? Is that a proper way to describe that?
So for the record this time, Lindsay Poverso, CFO. So yes, appropriate is the correct term, and Lorian, our budget director, has just confirmed that it actually is in the 2023 budget that was adopted within the ComCare Revenue Fund. So.
Okay. Let me state for the record, I'm supportive of trying to find ways to encourage people to go into this field of study. I think, again, I think that without some type of assistance, they may not naturally, organically do this. And so this will hopefully encourage some folks to go in this direction, and we certainly do need them. So I appreciate that. I do have a couple of concerns. I know as I talked with Chantel, it seemed like that we had mature conversations with Newman University specifically regarding the program, and I guess at this time, Wichita State University, that program is really not a viable program yet. Maybe it will be coming up, but right now it's not viable.
We certainly hope so. We are in active conversations with Wichita State University.
can you, if we do go to Newman, what's the earliest semester that these students would be able to be enrolled in?
We're hopeful for the summer.
Okay.
So we know the fall for sure. We are hopeful for the summer.
Would it be possible that Wichita State University would also be summer or fall?
We're trying to work that out as well. I don't know if they start in the summer or if it's just in the fall, and how flexible that could be.
Okay, and just to be clear, the resolution right now says for up to 6 students, which means I can't have 7 or 8. I have to have 6 or less. I don't know if that's intended. If we had $225,000 appropriated from the COMCARE revenue fund and it was available to be used at WSU, you could do probably more than 10 students with that same dollar figure. So I don't know that I agree with the idea of limiting this to 6. To me, it's too narrowly focused the way that's worded. I'd also say I like the idea of, since we know that these students can, or these employees can get the appropriate training at a state university, which we, by the way, do subsidize with 1.5 mils per year. I would like to see them lean on the state university to do this. I know the cost is about half of what it costs at the private university of Newman University. Again, I love Newman, it's a great school, but it is a private university, and as a consequence, it is more money. And since we're trying to get as many students to have this credential, I'd hate to see us limit ourselves to 6 students at Newman when you could do 10 or more at WSU for the same amount of money. To me, our goal is to get them credentialed. And I just think that we ought to be focusing on the fact that Wichita State University can do this for less money. And since we're invested in them and they're a state university, I'd like to see this written with that in mind. And I don't think that's what we have here today. I guess my final concern here is, since this is a new program, I think we're hopeful that this will be successful, but I think it would be reasonable for us to build in a sunset into this for us to force ourselves to review the program after a certain period of time and verify it's meeting the objectives and mission of the program. And if it is, great, we can extend it or approve it for another round or whatever it would take. But I think that a built-in sunset would force us to review this, and if it's not meeting our objectives, we would have an automatic ending of this program. I think that would be wise for us to put a sunset into this. The state legislature does this a lot on new spending. They add sunsets to those ideas to make sure that things are working the way they want. And I think sunset would be reasonable. I'll say this, I have, knowing that this will not really be something that we would necessarily implement, and we would not see students enrolled in this program until the summer or fall semester. I think we have a little bit of time. Once again, this has been worked on behind the scenes. It comes to us with a very mature program. I have some questions. In just a moment, I'd like to make a motion to defer this for 1 month and bring it back with maybe some tweaks to this. But before I do that, I'll listen to the commissioners' discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you, Chairman. What is the revenue fund's balance?
The last report that I looked at, it was around $13 million, I believe.
$13 million, and this program costs $225,000?
Approximately.
What does the revenue fund generate each year?
I think with the new CCBHC model, we're looking at $35 to $40 million a year.
$35 to $40 million a year? Did I just hear that correctly?
Believe so. Again, I'm working numbers off the top of my head, but I think that's accurate.
So there's more than enough money in here to help 6 students out?
Yes.
Okay. My other question would be, yesterday in the briefing, you guys mentioned, first of all, congratulations for hiring 10 new people. I hear you guys are doing really well with your recruitment efforts, so I'm really excited to hear that.
Thank you.
So before I forget that, I wanted to mention that. Yesterday, you mentioned that Newman was very easy to work with. They were moving along very steadily about how we're going to, what's the next meeting. They also offer night classes, which is something that WSU does not do. So how do we need to kind of move WSU along so that we can see more urgency with our state institution here? Tom, I guess I'm asking that of you and my fellow commissioners here. How can we move them along to ensure that we're getting the same response as other institutions? Obviously, private institutions have, you know, they need revenue, right? And so I'm just wondering what we can do. Is there a meeting that we've set up? Is there somebody talking to the folks at WSU to make sure that we have a comparable opportunity with WSU as far as night classes go as well? I understand that they don't do that. So that would be my request. I am supportive of this today. I think that it's important to recognize that new and innovative programs are how we really move the needle. And I'm excited that we're hopefully, I'm excited to see this pass today, hopefully. So
before you answer, isn't it very difficult to ask a institution like WSU to create a program when they don't know if there's going to be any funding for it or any support from Sedgwick County?
Well, I'm going to come back to Chantel in just a bit. Because when we briefed this back in July and August, because we were trying to move rapidly on it to get potentially fall semester, and if not fall semester, spring semester students into the classes. One of the holdups at the staff level between HR, finance, COMCARE, and the manager's office was this one university selection choice, with Newman being the only choice. I know Chantel and her staff have talked a lot with Wichita State about this, and Tim have talked a lot with Wichita State. This has to be reconciled, and I think it will be over time. And I think, as Chantel has alluded to, we're in constant discussions to grow this and to be inclusive of Wichita State or any other state university that wants to partake in this, because it's good for everybody. So that's going to continue. Chairman, to your point, I think that's true. I think universities, before they jump with any degree program or master's program, have to make sure that there's clients to come fill the chairs. And that's part of our discussion. And I think as we begin to talk about the Mayo Medical Center and all of this other growth, that we're going to see an influx of students, hopefully, and help fill workforce shortages. So we're talking about all of this very globally. In a specific point to Commissioner Cruz's standpoint, absolutely we'll be reaching out and talking to Wichita State, and hopefully, and I know Chantel, I don't want to repeat a lot of what she said, but I know she's been working on this to get Wichita State to the table. And is there anything you want to add to that, Chantel?
Just that we will definitely continue that. It is very hopeful to still be able to have that as an option for the fall.
So Chairman, if I may finish.
Sure.
The point that we have $13 million in our fund currently, and then are projected to receive revenues of $35 to $40 million, what could we do to increase this program? I mean, $225,000 out of $13 million just sitting in our bank. So I've asked that of Chantel and to see like how many people would, if they were to survey, because I think Commissioner Howell mentioned, what if we had 7 people enroll? Are we going to really kick that 7th person to the, are they not going to have the opportunity knowing that there really is funding available for that? So that's something I'd like for us to consider, would be to increase the number of participants.
Let me go first, and then I'm going to have Tim chime in too. We've discussed this a lot. First of all, we are not even in year one. We have not even completed year one of our new funding model with COMCARE. Some of this, and you got, in the staff level, you got people pushing on a gas and people pushing on a brake. Lindsay and I generally push on a brake because we want to wait to see how this matures and flourishes before we get the gas too heavy. And I would think it's fair that Tim and Chantel like to push on the gas on this thing. So it's a constant discussion we have back and forth, but I would like to see the new model and this projected $35 and $40 million revenue. I'd like to see that happen. And then absolutely, you're correct. At that point, then we begin to push the gas and look for other types of unique pay and recruitment strategies, retention strategies to bolster ComCare. Now, I'll let the gas pushers go next. I've been trying to stomp on the gas since last summer on this particular project, but I think Tom's right. And I think that we probably should have done a better job of describing this as a pilot program. This is our first attempt. We want to see how this first cohort of students works. I think it's going to be successful. I think ComCare staff believe it's going to be successful. And as other commissioners have pointed, as all commissioners have pointed out, this is one aspect of our recruitment and retention tools that we want. We've got other things that we're working on. We know that there are lots of workforce needs in this community, and we want to meet those workforce needs, because what that turns into is services for folks who need those services. And so I'm going to continue to push on the gas, and there's enough brake pushers around here to keep me from getting too far out front. But it's important, and we'd like to get it going again in this pilot format. And then as we see successes, we want to roll it out to not only other schools, but some other disciplines as well. Chantel has started the work on substance abuse counselors. There's a significant shortage in the community there. It's a different education and licensing requirement. And so we'd like to be able to expand into that area over time as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Meitzner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the conversation, and Chantel, appreciate the review that we had a few days ago. It was very helpful. And I just comment that we've just been through some of us have just been through a lot of community involvement as a result of running for office during the election process, and the mental health, addressing that and put action now to put action behind all the talk that's been going on was elevated at every conversation in the community. And I am not in favor of delaying things like this. We're going to have a lot more things come in front of this commission in the coming year related to addressing mental health and assisting with homelessness and all the interminglings of that. And this is one step that gets us ahead of the game and gets the ball started rolling. And since I totally recognize that addressing this issue is going to be complicated and many involved to help solve it, and this is one step it's going to. So I am fully supportive. If we can improve it and get other universities involved, that's fantastic. But I am not in favor of delaying what is inevitably a challenge that we have to address right now. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez, you have not had an opportunity to speak. Do you have anything?
Well, I appreciate speaking last week and just getting a better idea, and I'm really excited not only about this program, but what this could lead to the next thing, because I know we kind of talked about, well, okay, well, if we get this started and get this pipeline going, then what's the next piece of the puzzle? And so I'm glad that you guys are already considering what that's going to look like. So I'm really excited to get this going, hopefully today, and then seeing what's next. But appreciate all the work that's gone into this, because I know it's a lot, and I would say keep pressing that pedal down, because we need to get these things rolling. So really appreciate your work.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Well, all the commissioners have had an opportunity to speak. At this time, I call the question. I move to approve and take the recommended action. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Excuse me, point of order.
I've already called the motion.
The call the question is its own motion. You have to.
Okay, I call the question.
Second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
No.
Commissioner Lopez. Aye. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Chantel. Good luck.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item.
Item D, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts, regular meeting on December 8th, 2022.
You have to still vote on the motion, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay.
Excuse.
We called the question. Madam Clerk, now call the motion.
Item C.
No. We need to make a motion.
Item Charlie. We're going to call the recommended action.
You make a motion for the recommended action.
Motion to approve the attached program documents, including employee application template, employee contract template, and university contract template for COMCARE'S Master in Social Work Education program.
Okay. I made it all as one before, but we'll do it in two. So I'll second that. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
No.
Commissioner Lopez. Aye. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Next item, please.
Item D, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts regular meeting on December 8th, 2022.
Morning, Joe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Joe Thomas, Purchasing Director. I'm happy to stand before you to bring before you the 10 items that have been recommended from the regular meeting of the Board of Bids and Contracts on December 8th. Our first item is Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Network, Wireless, and Server Storage related equipment for Division of Information Technology. And that recommendation is to establish a contract with Eagle Technologies utilizing the Midwestern Higher Education Compact, contract MHEC-1215-2020, in effect through January 31st, 2024, with an option to renew for 4 additional years. I've got 9 more, so I better pace myself. Item number 2, Veeam Systems and Information Management Software, Division of Information and Technology. This recommendation is to establish contract with Technology Group Solutions, LLC, and this is utilizing the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance contract, and that's 01-137, and that's in effect through April 30th of 2025. Item number 3, Caresoft Software Products, Division of Information and Technology. This recommendation is to establish a contract with Technology Group Solutions, LLC. This one is utilizing the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance Contract 01-86, and that's good through November 30th, 2023. Item number 4, Hewlett-Packard Enterprises, Division of Information and Technology. This recommendation is to establish contract with Technology Group Solutions, LLC. This one will be utilizing the National Association of State Procurement Officials contract, and that's MNNVP-134, Value Point Contract, State of Kansas, number 40399AB, and that's in effect through February 28, 2023, with possible options to renew. Item number 5 is backups, hardware and software related products for Division of Information and Technology. And this recommendation is to establish a contract with Technology Group Solutions, LLC. This one is utilizing the National Association of State Procurement Officials contract MNWNC-108, State of Kansas contract 40400. And this is in effect through February 28th, 2023, with possible options to renew. Item number 6 is Cisco Products and Services, Division of Information and Technology. The recommendation is to establish a contract with Technology Group Solutions, LLC, and this is utilized in the National Association of State Procurement Officials contract AR 3227, State of Kansas contract 47258, and that's in effect through September 30th, 2024. Item number 7, Idea Tech network circuits for various departments, and this recommendation is to accept the quote from Idea Tech in the amount of $112,500 and then establish contract pricing for the services listed above for the 5-year contract period. Item number 8, change order number 1 for the on-call support, and that's for the SAP Business by Design and the implementation services of that for enterprise resource planning. This recommendation to accept this change order number 1 is for Phoenix Business Incorporated, doing business as Phoenix Business Consulting, and it's in the amount of $545,725 for implementation costs, and that's starting January 1st, 2023, going through December 31st, 2023. Item number 9 is implementation services for the SAP Ariba. That's the Digital Supplier Network and the Supplier Lifecycle Management for Enterprise Resource Planning. This recommendation is to accept the quote from Phoenix Business Incorporated, doing business as Phoenix Business Consulting, and that's in the amount of $86,100 for the implementation services that will start January 1st, 2023, and go through January 31st, 2024. And our final item is the Community Navigator Program for Division of Finance, and this recommendation is to accept the proposal from Wichita State University Foundation not to exceed $500,000. That will start January 1st, 2023, and go through December 31st, 2023. So I'll be happy to try to answer any questions you may have, and I do recommend approval of the items.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. We did not get minutes from this meeting, so I want to make sure that everybody understands everything that went into the bids and contracts. I guess the only question I have is, are we getting results back from the Community Navigator program? We've already put $500,000 in it. Now it looks like another $500,000 going in. Are we getting $500,000 worth of services back?
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, for the record, Brent Shelton, your Deputy CFO. We get monthly reports from the community navigators, and the thing that they're able to easily report to us are the connections that are being made. So their marketing efforts have reached the millions of what they call digital impressions through social media and things like that. In terms of connections, they report year-to-date about 3,400 different connections in terms of referrals that they've received, that they've made to different individuals, to different programs and so forth. We've seen anecdotally some things on the news. They've been able to provide us with some news stories and things like that. The tough piece of this is that because we're contracting with PPMC, and they're reaching out to other community partners, getting some of those results are tough to get that report back. They're doing it to the extent that they can, but the ARPA funding for community navigators is to report those connections. So that's where we are at this point. We can get more data for you. The reason this was before you was when we set this up initially, there wasn't a provision in the contract for additional years. It's in the spending plan, but the contract needed to be renewed for 2023.
We're paying for this with ARPA funding. How long are we anticipating to continue this program?
It's in the spending plan for 2023 and 2024.
Well, I'm going to have some hard data that tells me that this is actually something that is worth $500,000. Remember, we provide around $10 million to WSU already, and we're getting no discount whatsoever on this thing. It doesn't sound like with our $10 million investment that we're providing. I would think that PPMC would be interested in helping us. It's hard for me to say that I want to continue this a long period of time when I don't know what the results are. So at this point, I'll vote for it. But until we get something hard data back, I'm ready to stop it at any point rather than continue through the entire program if we don't see results. Thank you. Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. I don't know if I've seen those emails. Can we start getting those as well, just so we can have better updates continuously throughout the year?
We've done those for the reporting, for the ARPA reporting, but we'll make those all available.
Okay, and then I know last year we all had an opportunity to sit down with them and just get like a yearly update. Can we do that again just before? I know we'll vote on this today, but if we could get an update on last year's, everything that has gone on, it makes it easier to just understand where we are today and hopefully where we'll be next year.
Absolutely, we'll set those up.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you, Chairman. I know that I've talked to a couple of community members who have received benefits from this, and I wonder if we could get and reach out to some of them around providing their testimonial about how beneficial this program has been to them. I think that might help make decisions a little easier, knowing and hearing from those who are directly impacted. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Mike Elpers, you got off pretty easy. Yours was the bulk of everything that we discussed today. We didn't have any minutes, so I thought we would have tons of questions for you today, but it looks like you got off. Move to approve board bids and contracts. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to be able to discuss an off-agenda item. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. And do I need to make a special motion that we're, what the discussion is about now? Mr. Papoon, do I? Or just having the off-agenda item, open it up?
You just need to make a motion to have an off-agenda item and approve it, and then you're ready to go.
Okay. Sheena, you're on.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Sheena Schmetz, Chief Human Resources Officer. I'm here today to talk about the policy and resolution for the elected official pay and retirement contributions. Last week, you gave us direction on which direction to go. This week in front of you, you have had a chance to review the official policy and the resolution that is in front of you. I'd be happy to go through any details if you'd like, or whichever direction you'd like to go.
Okay. Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you, Chairman. We received an email yesterday about this, and then today is the first time we're actually seeing this. So I guess in the history's past, it's a little out of the ordinary to not give a little bit of time to read through a resolution like this. So I'll be voting no today. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez.
Just for clarification, this is the exact policy we spoke about last week, and the resolution is just to adopt it. Is that accurate?
That's correct, on the direction you gave us to move forward with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I don't see any other questions. This is the resolution that we voted on last week, but we just have to clarify a couple items in this. So I move that the resolution presented today to adopt policy number 4-2005 regarding elected official pay and retirement be adopted, and that the salaries of all county commissioners shall be established at $101,527 effective January 1st, 2023, to match the 2023 salaries of the Register of Deeds, county clerk, and county treasurer. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. No. Commissioner Cruz.
No.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Chairman Dennis.
Aye. Thank you. Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Mr. Manager.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Again, Tom Stolz, County Manager's Office, recommending approval of consent items E through Y, and I'm going to bring special attention to item E for the public, just because of the dollar figure that's associated with this consent item. It is the annual agreement between the City of Wichita and Sedgwick County for big ditch maintenance. It is over $2 million of a county share. That's substantial, and the city, of course, matches that. This is a long-standing partnership between the city and the county to maintain flood control in the county. I just thought that was worth noting. But recommend approval of all items, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I do want to also bring up item Foxtrot. This is on consent today. Normally, it was on the regular agenda, but it's the third time that we've partnered with the City of Wichita for this project. So it's been briefed 2 times in the past, so that's why it's under consent. But I'd like to move to approve items Echo through Yankee with the exception of item Hotel, and we'll come back to Hotel. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez. Chairman Dennis.
Aye. And now please call item Hotel.
Item H, agreement with Cerebral Palsy Research Foundation for Wheelchair and Posture Seating Clinic.
Thank you. Commissioner Meitzner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for pulling this item from the consent agenda. I just have to, I need to disclose that I serve on the board of directors for CPRF. I have for a number of years, even before I was ever elected, and I don't have anything to do with, was not involved at all in this item, and I think it's an annual contribution that is part of our annual support on the wheelchair and posture seating clinic. And but because I do serve on the board, I think it's best that I recuse myself from this vote.
Thank you. Move to approve item Hotel. Second. We have a motion and a second. Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Cruz.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez?
Aye.
Chairman Dennis?
Aye. Thank you all. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Legislative issues.
Do we have anything today, Tanya? We do have a couple meetings, though, coming up on Thursday and Friday, so you might want to discuss that real quick.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Tanya Cole, Assistant County Manager. You are correct. Tomorrow we have the South Central Delegation Annual Meeting, and that will be from 12 to 5 at Wichita State. And then I think about 3:45 they'll be going over the joint legislative platform during that meeting on Thursday. And then Friday, the Chamber will be having a meeting that our own Stephanie Bergman will be moderating, and that will be with help me out, Ty Masterson and Dan Hawkins will be at that meeting, and they'll be going over, and they'll be hearing from folks at that meeting, and I think all the commissioners will be at that meeting as well. So that'll be a nice luncheon with Dan Hawkins and Ty Masterson.
Very good. Now, I think probably almost all the commissioners will be attending both those meetings, so I just wanted everyone to be aware of that. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you. On that topic, I have set up a meeting for anybody interested. I hope the commissioners would have time for this, but about a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago, we had a roundtable discussion on juvenile justice reform, and I wanted to dust off that discussion. I've invited the district attorney and the sheriff and some folks from St. Francis and some judges and others to attend, so to kind of discuss where we're at as a county and what we can do legislatively as well. I know this is on the changes to Senate Bill 367 is on our platform, so I want to kind of dig into that a little bit on Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock upstairs, and so I just bring that up so that the public knows and my colleagues know that that's something I've put together. Thank you.
And I appreciate you setting that up. We do have some conflicts in there, so we'll try and make that.
I understand that. There is a celebration of our outgoing engineer that we talked about earlier. This just happens to be perfectly conflicted with the thing that I set up earlier, but to the extent that that is a conflict, I would ask you to attend whatever part of that you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, Commissioner Lopez.
Is there any way to get that recorded? Because there's 2 retirement parties that are at the exact same time as that it's going to be hard to get to everything.
You're talking about the roundtable? Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the Commissioner Howell's event on Friday? Yeah, we're going to be streaming that live on Friday, so yeah.
Thank you so much.
We got a busy day Friday. Okay, Madam Clerk, next item.
Committee reports.
Any commissioners have anything during committee reports today? Seeing nothing, Madam Clerk, next item.
Other.
Any commissioners have anything? Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to take just a moment to circle back to the item we did a call the question on. I want to give some rationale for my no vote. I have a right to explain my vote. I'd like to do that now. First of all, I don't think we're in a hurry. I think that the program would have started summer or fall semester. I think we have some time for commissioners to work on some of the issues that I have raised. I am concerned about existing employees and the animosity that this might create. I'm also aware there may be students in the program today that may be any percentage of the way through their program. We'd like to recruit them and give them something to lure them in, not just a $5,000 signing bonus, but it's something that might deal with their student loans that they might have. So I am concerned about, I would have asked to have a discussion about expanding the program. I do think a sunset is reasonable. One way we can deal with people who are not employees that are getting the credential that we need is have a discussion about the same type of benefit that would be towards a student loan. I am concerned about our staff that are working full-time job and are expected to go to school full-time. That's a pretty heavy load for many people. And I don't know if we would talk about allowing this program to be allowed for someone who's a part-time employee, but we didn't have time to talk about that today. So I am concerned about the load. I would have changed it from 6, a maximum of 6, to something that's unlimited number of students that would fit under the appropriations of that number. I don't think that 6 needs to be in the resolution at all. And I'm sorry that did not get changed. It's interesting to me, we talk about WSU having to stand up a program. I'll just point out, they have a program right now. It says Masters of Social Work. It's on their website. It's already out there. So we don't have to develop a program, it's already there. So the idea that we have to talk them into it is not true. I don't think we're in a hurry. It's only 11 o'clock. We've only been in this meeting for 2 hours. We've gone as long as 4 hours in the past. I don't know why we did not allow additional discussion. These are legitimate questions and concerns, and I think we could have improved the program, and I was in favor of the program, making it better, but I didn't have the chance to make changes. So with that, I voted no, and I wish that we would take our time to give commissioners a chance to change policy rather than just jam stuff through quickly. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. We do not have an executive session today. Does anything else need to come before the Board of County Commissioners? Seeing nothing, we're adjourned. Thank you all.